Western political scientists, journalists, although I can't call them journalists, because as soon as it comes to some kind of chargedness, especially chargedness in blackening, then, of course, they are not journalists, but fake journalists. They are trying to represent Russia, and they have been doing it for many years, and not even decades, but centuries. As I quote them, the empire is fastened. This is literally from their articles, publications, even books, fastened with force. This is not even a delusion, no. It is a deliberately designed mythology. It was needed in order to try to represent Russia in absolutely black paint. We know the truth, not only from textbooks, but we know it from our own lives. Our country has been built for centuries as a complex but harmonious organism, where dozens, even hundreds of nations do not just come to life. No, not the word, not the expression. They create a single culture. This is synergy. Our country, which is addressed by those who have been deceived by others, who give themselves up to the exclusive or omnipotent, is addressed to our country by those who have lost hope in many ways in a truly honest mediocrity, because, again, it was deceived at some stage. They address us not just like that, but because they see our experience, honest professional attitude. In Washington, political scientists and public figures began to formulate, develop the idea that only the American nation is an exclusive nation. Only their country and their people know how, what, where, and so on. Here it is, an attempt to self-assertion of peoples in continuous chaos. What does it lead to, as Berdyaev said? To the fact that it will generate wars. See what is happening in the Middle East. There are different figures, but this bacillus of the fact that the people, or rather for the people, are constantly making decisions in a number of countries, that only they are exclusive, only they are allowed, and that in general they are superhumans, leads to endless conflicts and wars. Look at the situation in Ukraine. Where did it start? This has a lot of historical prerequisites, implications, and so on. But just recently, 10, 15, well, a little more, probably, years ago, with what enthusiasm they distributed the book of the former president of Ukraine, Kuchma, which was called so, Ukraine is not Russia. The unity, how often this word is used, including with that very Western minority, who are trying to infinitely blacken us, to oppose themselves, us, and so on. They talk about solidarity, about a kind of common spirit, and so on. But in fact, this is not unity. This is a false unity. Well, forgive me for this example. You know, there is a white mushroom, and there is a false white. Very similar. Only from a false white, you can die of poisoning. Here is the same unity. They have a false unity. Why? And because it is built on suppression, on attempts to remake others for themselves. And this inevitably leads to a catastrophe. Russia has learned to build unity based on mutual respect. Yes, this is a long way. It is not easy. But, as experience shows, it is true. It is such an approach, such an unrelenting colonial past, biography of a multinational country, that ensures the moral authority of our diplomacy. More than once, saving Europe from self-destruction, our country, its people, and in this case, I am talking about diplomacy too, have always acted with a position of justice. There is a so-called world minority, which believes that it should preserve the world that we talked about today at the beginning, a world based on some of their rules, which everyone should obey, without even having the opportunity to read a set of these rules. A world based on a system of colonial submission, subordination of the metropolis and the colony. Remember, as one of the Western ideologists said, the beautiful garden is them, the same golden billion is also them, and the wild jungles, according to him, and the rest, in fact, is the majority, which should serve all this for them. We do not agree with this. Hence the clash of philosophies, views, including interests. This is a global challenge. If we talk about its specific manifestations, it is the sanctions, or rather, the economic and trade wars that are now being waged in the world, not only to us, but also to China, which is abandoned by this glove, and to other countries that want to develop using their resources, to build a world, not based on someone driving someone into some blocks, unions, and so on, but to develop freely. This is one of the manifestations. Conflicts, provocations, the use of such proxy, hybrid ways of waging wars.